Well. We got a great many things to discuss because Michael Reinsdorf just addressed the media and it left a lot more questions than I felt like answers. We did get some answers into his mindset, why the firing of AK and stuff happened. We're going to talk about it all and more, but you know what we got to do first. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's get into this. I already know the reactions to this are going to be absolutely crazy, right? And I think the thing that I'm going to start off with is probably the thing that most people are going to find concerning, right? Me and Pat over on Locked on Bulls talk about it today. I also talked about it here on this channel on my daily episode. But one of the things that I had brought up then was I'm just concerned that with the Reinsdorf's love of Billy Donovan, if in hiring a new president, hiring a new GM, if they did not want Billy Donovan to come in, would that turn them off? And Michael Reinsdorf, for what it's worth, said it very directly. He said that if Billy Donovan wants to be here as a coach, and if a new president or a new GM, whoever they hire, does not want to or not interested in retaining Billy Donovan, then they're probably not right for the Chicago Bulls. Which, again, I want to be clear here. Billy Donovan is not the worst coach in the world, despite what people like Winton Mahorn will tell you, right? He's not the most terrible coach in the world. It's not this isn't about if Billy's good or not. I want to be clear here. Billy being good or not is not really the thing here. It's the fact that if you are already starting off and you are telling somebody who's coming into their job, hey, we want you to come in here and make the decisions, but that decision you don't get to make, right? Like, let's just take the Billy Donovan part. Whether you love Billy Donovan or you hate Billy Donovan, let's take that part out of this. Let's just say you're coming into a situation in a job where you're supposed to rebuild the team in the vision that you want. What if the style of play that you want, Billy Donovan doesn't fit that, right? So you're basically telling somebody that despite how qualified you could be in building this team, we don't want you if the coach that we love in Billy Donovan isn't a part of that plan. That is what that's saying. Again, that's not about Billy Donovan being good or not. If you want somebody to come in and cook, you probably need to let them buy the groceries, right? Like that's typically how it goes. And so I just worry about, in hearing that and their reluctance to move on from Billy, how that could affect potential candidates who are interested in the job. Now, maybe Billy saves the Bulls from themselves and he decides to still walk away at the end of the season, which is still a possibility, but it's just an interesting way to go about a job search, right? And keep in mind, nobody should be surprised by this. They wanted AK to keep Jim Boylan, which is something I keep telling people. They wanted AK to keep Jim Boylan on. And so it's not surprising that now you have a much better coach in Billy Donovan who's close with ownership, that they have the same type of mentality and mindset. My biggest concern is, like I said, regardless if Billy's a good coach or not, my biggest concern is that going to stop you from finding the guy that may be best qualified to build this team out, since you have such a reluctance to allow that person to pick their coach? And that's the only thing that this is about. Like, again, I know people are going to argue, well, Billy's a college Hall of Famer. He's not an NBA. That doesn't matter in this case. I don't give a damn if the coach was Phil Jackson. If you hire somebody in to do a job and to build your team from the ground up, you're already telling them you're not allowed to make X decision. So if I'm somebody who is coming in and wanting to run a team, but yet this other team is going to give me full autonomy, I'm not coming here to Chicago. And I say that as somebody who is a diehard, lifelong Chicago Bulls fan. If you tell me that I get to choose between the Dallas Mavericks job and the Chicago Bulls job, but the Mavericks are telling me, hey, listen, from coach to roster to everything else, you get to run the show, I'm going to Dallas versus coming to Chicago. I don't give a fuck what your draft assets are. I don't give a damn the cap space that you have. If you're telling me building my vision of the team, if a particular coach that was here before me doesn't fit that vision, because then look at what that also does to me. All right, what if me and Billy disagree in 2 years? What if I'm not happy with the performance that Billy Donovan has in 2 years and I want to fire him, but now I'm looking at ownership who basically told me before I even got the job, Billy better stay here. I'm going to have a problem with that. So, again, it has nothing to do with how good or Billy Donovan is or not. It comes down to, if you want somebody to come in and do a job, don't tie their hands from the beginning of it before they even get a chance to start and basically tell them, oh, you can make any decision, but that one over there you can't do. To me, that does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, in my personal opinion. But I know Billy, like I said, and it's not even about that, but, it is what it is. I guess it's just a limitation of the Reinsdorfs. That's the line that they've drawn in the sand, and it is what it is. I don't want to make this whole live stream just about the Billy Donovan aspect of it, but it is a very concerning part of that it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Shout out to JC in the building, says exactly, Haize. He says, Billy has a cap. You should have figured that out by now. The Reinsdorfs are loyal to a huge fault. Agree. Now, let's talk about some of the other things that happened in this interview with Michael Reinsdorf and the media. For one, he did say that he basically threw AK under the bus. He said, we want to win, but we don't want to win if it's not sustainable. So for a lot of Bulls fans that are talking about and asking the question on if the Bulls are going to still tank going forward, if they're going to try to win immediately, he said that we don't want to win if it's not sustainable. And then he said, hey, that team that AK built when we traded for Vooch, we signed Lonzo, we signed DeMar, we built AC. He said that was a fine group, but I still don't know if I'm convinced that group what was one that could have sustained success. And I'm paraphrasing in that part. And so basically, to me, that says that, hey, we had our issues from AK from the jump. That is basically what that's saying, is that if you're saying that more importantly than anything, you want sustained winning, and the best version of the Chicago Bulls that we had under AK, you're saying, hey, yeah, it was a cool group to build off of, but we still weren't convinced that was a group, even if Lonzo didn't get hurt, that could have won successfully. I mean, I'm glad that there's that level of awareness with it, for sure. But again, it goes to the same thing. It's just concerning is all it is, in the way and the manner in which you're getting it done. But that's the Bulls. Now, I do love hearing that they want to have the sustained success. I do love hearing that, because that is the overall point of what we're here. We're not here to have 1 or 2 seasons of winning and then you're right back to being in the lottery, right? You're here to have sustained winning seasons. You want to win sustainably. You want to win consistently. And if Michael Reinsdorf, who I got to say this right now, this is something completely different than what we've seen from any Bulls owner or anything before, is the fact that Michael even got in front of this. When's the last time you've seen Jerry Reinsdorf address the media? So this really does feel like maybe there is a true handoff in who's running the day-to-day with the team, and Michael Reinsdorf may have realized, hey, I probably need to be more hands-on. He did mention how people that work for them have a lot of autonomy, but then says that they don't get to do whatever they want to do. They don't get to go basically unchecked, which is fine, right? But, it is what it is there. We're going to get to this one. I want to get into this. I'm going to put this on the screen just so you guys can kind of know where we're going with the conversation. Shout out to that for the super chat. But I want to commend Michael Reinsdorf for getting out in front of it. He also did say, and he said, hey, this goes back to Gar, right? Saying that we haven't really had people in this job that have been really good at communicating with the media. So it seems like that's going to be one of the criteria for the Bulls going forward, is that they want people who are going to compete and I mean, be able to talk in front of the media, which I think for a lot of fans, that's an important aspect of this, because we had so much bad communication from AK, who didn't really deal with the media very well. So it seems like they want that. And that's fine, right? And we'll see what happens there. But I want to get into this one. He said, felt bad for Will after his question. Listen, I felt bad for Will after that question, not because Will asked a bad question, but what? So for those that don't know, Will Gottlieb from CHGO asked Michael Reinsdorf, hey, about the extensions from AK and Eversley. And Michael said, who told you that they got extensions? Now, the thing here is we all heard that they got extensions. We heard that Billy Donovan and the front office all got extensions, right? Like, everybody heard that. But Michael Reinsdorf said, I would love to hear your source on that. We don't talk about contracts. And you could tell that Will was a little bit taken aback by that response, because I will say Michael got a little snippy on that. Now, that may have been the fact that it was towards the end of the interview. Michael had been asked tough questions by Joe Cowley and some other ones, but it was a little bit of a dig there, right? But the thing that Michael also talked about in this that I want to kind of focus on a little bit is that he talked about the structure with the Bulls. Typically, the Bulls have had a traditional structure: a president, a vice president, GM, and then the people under them, right? And Michael said in this point, he said, well, maybe we don't go president. Maybe we go GM and a bunch of assistant GMs under him. But then he also talked about the fact of, well, then somebody could poach the GM, because if somebody offers them a president role, then somebody can poach the team. But it seems like the Bulls are really starting to think about how they want to structure their front office. And they're thinking about doing things differently. If you guys have followed me for a while, well, especially during this, the thing that I've talked about so much with this team recently is the fact that the Bulls have been so caught up in doing things the same way for years, right? And for those that are Bears fans as well, you would know that that was the McCaskies. The McCaskies were very caught up in doing things the same exact way for years. Never paying for a big-name head coach, never having a high-paid coaching staff, the McCaskies being very hands-on with football decisions. And once the McCaskies started saying, no, let's hire the football people and let's let the football people do their job. Let's get Ryan Poles. Then they added Kevin Warren later. Ryan Poles answers to Kevin Warren. And they had a more traditional structure at that point. And also the Bears, when they hired Ben Johnson, they did something they've never done before. They had one of the highest paid head coaches as a first-time head coach and had one of the highest paid coaching staff, something that we've never had before. So they didn't cheap out on that, but they realized their structure needed to change. Now, I know I just got done talking at the start of the show about Billy Donovan and them holding on to Billy Donovan and how that is one of those Reinsdorf isms that I don't appreciate. But it does say that maybe their thinking is starting to be in the right place, that they're starting to look at it and say, we may have to do this differently now. We may have to put ourselves in a position to where we do something that we're not as comfortable with. And if they do that, I think that that's a great thing. I think that's an amazing thing that they should do, is you need to look at it different, right? But he did say flat out, it's not true that Artūras Karnišovas and Marc Eversley had contract extensions. So, I mean, he flat out said it's simply not true. So, you know, they didn't have contract extensions. That's great, right? But he did say also that they want Billy to be more involved in personnel conversations. And that's assuming Billy Donovan does stay here. So there's still that question on Billy Donovan's decision if he's going to stay with the Chicago Bulls or not. But it seems like, via what Michael Reinsdorf said, is that basically it seems like Billy is going to have like almost a coach and an assistant GM role if he decides to stay, because they want him more involved in the decisions that are there. And we'll see. So, you know, there's a lot to be taken from this one. He did also hold himself accountable and said that he needs to do a much better job of challenging his hires and asking the right questions once they're in place, which is another thing, a change of structure. The Reinsdorfs have been a fairly hands-off ownership, right? I know people like to blame everything on ownership, but the Reinsdorf, for the most part, kind of hire people and let them do their thing. And so it seems like now that there's going to be more of a consistent check-in when it comes down to it, a more consistent, hey, let's the last couple of years, let's go over what happened the last couple of years. This is what we like. This is what we didn't like. This is where we need to make some improvements at. This is what we want to do. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But man, it's very, very interesting to take away from this one. It's just really, really strange. Michael Reinsdorf has been running the Bulls. Jerry only deal with yes, Michael Reinsdorf has been the governor of the Bulls, but he hasn't been hands-on. The day-to-day was run by Artūras Karnišovas. So even though Michael Reinsdorf has been the guy overseeing the Bulls and making decisions, he hasn't been hands-on. They've never been hands-on. So it's a big difference in that, in what we're talking about, B-Minor, as far as him being more hands-on, bro. I generally don't care if the front office talks to the media. I hate most of the media guys anyway, anything and says just do your job and compete. But part of that job is being in front of the media. Like, I don't even say that to like argue with you, bro. It's just the reality of it is that part of the front office's job is to address the media. It is to address the things. It is to communicate with that. Keep in mind, there are requirements by NBA teams as far as media. So you have to be able to address the media, because that is part of the job description. But I get what you're saying, in the sense that you don't really care with how they deal with the media. You care if the job's getting done. And to a point, I agree. If AK was better at doing his job, would anybody really care that he wasn't good at talking to media? Or would they say, hey, he doesn't address the media well, but you know what he does? He does his fucking job well. So I definitely understand where you're coming from there, bro. Does the GM get to make demands of Billy? That's the question with all of this, right? Like, the way that Michael Reinsdorf talked is that you would almost feel like it's like Billy Donovan's really the one running the show. That's almost how this came off, is that Billy Donovan is the one running the show. Now, again, that's just my perception on the way that it was communicated, but it does leave some questions there. We got Vaughn in the building. Says, what do you think about him saying he didn't meet AK until after he hired him? Listen, that's stupid. Like, and I mean, that goes to what he says as far as doing a much better job at challenging during the hiring process, right? Because how do you hire somebody and not meet them? I can get it. So much stuff is done virtually now. And if I'm not mistaken, was it during COVID that we hired, or was that before? That would have been the year before COVID, right? But you know, I'm glad, like, at least he's recognizing it, because that's ridiculous. Somebody who's going to run your organization, come on, man. DJ Epic says, we need a coach that focuses on defense as well as not just all. Listen, you ain't going to get no arguments out of me. But from the ownership, they apparently don't give a shit about none of that. What they care about is that they care about Billy, and they love everything that's Billy doing. So I only can say that when in regards to it. We got Shane in the building, says, I really don't give a damn as long as they improve this team to the point where we could make the damn playoffs. Fair. This is the cycle of being a Bulls fan. They do something right, us fans get hype and happy, and then they do something dumb right after, and we go back to misery. Listen to the fans. Yeah, okay. I mean, listen, I will say this. Getting new faces in the building is part of listening to fans, right? And not every fan hates Billy Donovan. But we'll see. He hired him. Okay, I thought so. He hired him during the pandemic. Okay, so that makes sense that they may have not met in person because of the pandemic. I'll give them that bit of credence there. AK had the same problem as Gar in not knowing how to build around star players. Gar couldn't build around Jimmy, and AK couldn't build around. Well, Zach isn't a star player. Zach is a damn good scorer, but he's not a star. And I mean, Josh, the roster was set before then, right? Like, I think they started making moves to start putting a roster that fit Josh Giddey more around. I think you've seen that with Modest and Noah and stuff like that. But, you know, there's something to be said. Agrees. The same bear cycle. A lot of people are going to feel that way. I don't understand how you tell top-tier GMs to come work for you, but to deal with your favorite coach. That's crazy-ass demand as a franchise owner. Chris, that's exactly how I started off this stream, bro. I said the same thing. Like I said, it's not about how good Billy is or not in that case. Like, that's secondary to it. How good Billy is or not. It's just the fact that you're coming in with somebody and already telling them, hey, you can't make this decision, which is a little weird. My only concern with Billy is when Io left, him saying shooting threes was forbidden. He didn't say shooting threes. He said shooting middies. Mid-range shots was forbidden, not threes. That's cause for concern when you don't have the personnel to – well, yeah, so he didn't say threes. He said mid-range shots. He said we're forbidden to shoot mid-range shot, not threes, bro. Bill Cartwright was the only black head coach for the Bulls. Jerry need to hire a brother. That's funny. That's funny. Bro, what was Billy done to warrant him getting so much power? Truly astounding how fucking stupid the faith they have in them. What do come on so many better coaches out there? Bro, listen, a lot of people are going to agree with you on that one, bro, because I don't know, like, and again, it's not even about if Billy's great or not, but it's just like, damn, like, how can you want to completely reset something and still keep such a big part of it? So what happened if the new GM tells ownership, hey, fam, your boy garbage, either he go or I go, then what? That's exactly what I asked earlier. You must have just jumped in the stream. That was the part that I asked is like, if I'm a GM and you're telling me, hey, we need you to keep Billy, in the back of my mind, I'm going to start thinking like, all right, what about in a year or 2 years? And if I look at it and say, hey, this nigga, this motherfucker ain't coaching the team the way I want him coach, are you gonna be able to fire him? Like, are you not going to be able to fire him? Like, what that's, because as it stands right now, basically what Michael Reinsdorf did is he basically said, hey, listen, Billy's our guy. You could be a guy, but Billy's the guy. Like, that's basically what that came off like. Like, am I crazy for taking it that way? Please tell me in the comments if I'm crazy for taking it that way. That's facts. Blair coach should be a target after Billy runs his course, if he ever does. Did Billy give the Reinsdorf a 5-course meal, a foot massage, and other matching the glaze is crazy. That's hilarious. I'm sure there are plenty of front office candidates that we'd be happy to work. I'm sure there will be. But the question isn't about who just – see, that's the thing, right? I want to take that question there because the question shouldn't be, do you want to work with Billy or not? The question should be, are you best for the team? And if your vision best fits this team, that should be the thing that matters the most. Are you best fit to actually turn the Bulls into a contender? Because if you're telling me that Jesus Levante Christ walks in the building and says, listen, I can make happen whatever I need to happen. And they say, but we want you to keep Billy. And he's like, no, I don't want to keep Billy. You gonna turn Jesus down? Like that's the question that I'm gonna say here. Like, that's the thing. So you're already limiting yourself. So you're at that point, you're telling me you're not looking for the best candidate. You're looking for the best candidate for Billy. And those may not be the same thing. The best person to lead this team may not necessarily be the best person for Billy Donovan's future here. I'm just saying. You hire somebody to ask them to build a successful team, but this new person already has their hands tied behind their back. I don't understand anything. Exactly, bro. Exactly. We can get the GM right. The question will the owners spend the money to go over. See, that's the thing. We're over the – see, some of y'all don't understand what actually happens. The Bulls are over the cap every single year. The Bulls don't spend over the luxury tax. Half the teams in the NBA didn't spend into the luxury tax last year, and I believe half the teams in the playoffs last year didn't spend into the luxury tax. It's not about – if you're smart with making your moves, if you draft well, if you make smart acquisitions – you don't have to go into the luxury tax to build a playoff team. Now, you may have to go into the luxury tax to start keeping that team once their extensions start coming up, but you don't need to go into the luxury tax to build a good basketball team. We're over the cap every single year. We're not over the luxury tax. I think some people don't understand that those are different things. The Bulls have never been below the salary cap. Never been below the salary cap. Do you think marketing firm will give us quality candidates or just those that will work with Billy? The marketing firm doesn't have anything with candidates. That's not how that works. If they're going to do that, make Billy Donovan the GM. What's it? You know what? If everything's going through Billy, make Billy the goddamn guy to make the decisions. Just saying. Tax is what I'm talking about. Yeah, but that's why I just said I think if I'm not mistaken, the teams most of the teams in the playoffs this year don't like. It's a different era now. Most teams are not going into the luxury tax anymore because they realize how restrictive that is. So it's not about that anymore. Like, I get it that that's been such a talking point for Bulls fans so long, but that's why we separate some stuff in there. But all right, y'all, I'm gonna get ready to wrap it up, man. It is what it is. The more things change with the Chicago Bulls, the most they stay the same. And we're going to see what's going to happen here, man. Hey, it is what it is. This is life of being a Bulls fan, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.